The other side is about opening things up and about the legal ramifications of the governor's actions. And I guess you'd say by extension, Yakima City Council's actions last night at a 5-2 vote to extend our proclamation, our stay-home proclamation. But there are at least 3, maybe 4 lawsuits now going on against the governor for constitutional overreach, things of that nature.
That's right.
14th District State Representative Chris Corry is one of the guys involved in one of those lawsuits that was filed yesterday, I believe, and he's on the phone to talk with us about that this morning. Good morning, Mr. Representative. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
We're good.
Yeah. You still working at home?
I am. I am still quarantined, and
All right.
we're all working together to try to get through this.
All right. Well, the lawsuit challenges the governor's action of extending that stay home, stay healthy order. You guys filed it, in Tacoma, Pierce County yesterday?
Yes.
Seeks an emergency injunction to stop the order from being extended until May 31. So, I guess, how are you funding this? Because, it's going to cost money to fight the governor, right?
Yes. So where the governor has the resources of the Attorney General's office, we as citizens, because this court case has been filed as individual citizens, not as the House of Representatives. So we are.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say so that's why they're saying Republicans and not by the House of Representatives,
Yeah, and we know there's some Democrats out there that are also concerned about this, but they're, unfortunately, politics being what it was.
Yeah.
If they were to come out and say anything, it would, spell disaster for them. So, these are the members we're working with, and we've got a good group together. But yeah, we've got a defense fund. It's a nonprofit that allows us to raise money to pay our attorneys.
So do you want people to help out? Can people help you out? Can people donate?
They can, and it would be appreciated because it's not cheap, and obviously all the people on the suit, we're putting in our own money as well.
Well, good for you guys. Yeah, right on. Well, is there a website or anything or what?
Yeah, we have 2 things. We have reopenwashington.org.
Okay.
That kind of has a summary of, what we're doing and, asking for help. And then, you know what? I'm sorry. I just lied to you guys. It's openupwashington.org. My goodness. You think I'd get that right?
Openupwashington.org. Okay.
Yes. And we've created a group called the Citizens Action Defense Fund. There's a Facebook page as well if you search for that. But, I want to talk to you guys, if I can, about why we're doing what we're doing and what brought us to this point. Because, there was a lot of media coverage yesterday about it, and I don't think that this was really, really told. And I want to start off by saying I value every life, and any of these deaths are tragic, and I want to prevent them. And as we've seen with the science and we've seen with the data, we really know who the most vulnerable populations are. We really didn't at the beginning, which is why most of us, including myself, agreed with the initial stay home, stay healthy order and the initial emergency proclamations.
Right.
We were here to flatten the curve, slow the curve. We were never going to stop the curve. That's what, we were never going to stop this entirely, because you can't do that until you have either a vaccine or herd immunity. And unfortunately, Americans don't have 12 to 18 months of sitting in their homes, losing their businesses, losing their homes, not having food to feed their families. They don't have that time frame. So what we're arguing is, we've slowed the curve. We've built up, resources for our hospitals. We understand who this impacts. We need healthy people to get back to work safely. Now we're not saying flip the switch, go back to acting like nothing's changed. You need social distancing. I recommend masks. There's additional cleaning. Maybe there's some capacity restrictions. And businesses around the state are willing to do this, to be part of the solution.
Right.
But what our argument was, since we know science and data has shown, and we're seeing this in other states, that we know who the vulnerable populations are that we need to support. So the continuation of the state of emergency based on why it was initially declared is no longer valid. And we've spent the last 2 months as a legislature and as individuals within that legislature writing emails, letters, phone calls to the governor trying to help be part of this solution. We've been ignored.
Yeah, it just sure seems like it. That's right. Yeah.
I mean, the governor's response yesterday was he called us heartless.
Yes.
And he said that I wanted 60 people over 60 to die. And you want to talk about poor politics? That's poor politics.
Yeah, he called it short-sighted, but I think they are not only short-sighted but dangerous.
Dangerous. So if you have to remember, what we're arguing is the same science that's being argued in Colorado with the Democrat governor and California with the Democrat governor. They're moving forward. So I'm assuming Jay Inslee is calling out the governors of California and Colorado and telling them they're dangerous and don't care about 60-year-olds.
Yeah.
So,
that's not happening.
For someone who doesn't like when Trump, makes all these off-the-cuff comments, he seems to do it himself a lot.
That's right.
All right, Chris, got to ask you the tricky question, though. Right here in your own backyard, I know this is opening up Washington, not just opening up Yakima County. But have you had a chance to read the article this morning in the Yakima Herald-Republic about our numbers continuing to climb here and it being considered troublesome given the lack of a flattening of a number of cases that we've had? Any concerns that you're helping to lead a statewide charge while in our own backyard conditions have not flattened out?
So I think I haven't read the Yakima Herald article, but I look at the numbers every day. We get updated reports daily. And here's, the numbers are important, and you got to get past the headlines. And I agree that there's some concern with what we've got going on in Yakima. But if you look at the cases and you look at who it's affecting, we're actually doing better than King County is doing. We're at about half of what they were doing per capita in terms of, deaths related to positive infections. We're testing more, which is a good thing. So you're going to have more positive results. We also have a higher number of essential workers. So we have a higher number of people who are out there working.
All right.
And what we're seeing is if you're under 70, you're pretty low risk. I mean, obviously it gets better as you get younger.
All right, but hold on a second. At low risk for what? For death or for getting the disease?
For death.
Right. So we're deciding, if I hear you right, we're deciding that it's going to be okay for the majority of people to become infected with the disease, given the fact that some won't even know they have it, some will barely know they have it, and a precious tiny few, and especially the most vulnerable, will have a serious issue. Is that a fair statement? Because that's really what will happen, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's there's a policy trade-off here. We can't just continue to keep everyone locked up. So do we as a state say we are going to try to lock 90% of the people down and then try to help find ways to keep them afloat? Or do we get those that are less impacted back to work, and then we have more resources to save to protect the 10% that need our help?
Yep, that was one of my positions early on. But here's what you just said about testing. Here's what the paper says. Now, I'm not saying you're right or they're right, but you're both different. As of Monday, Yakima had tested 2.8% of local populations compared to 3% statewide and 2.9% in King County. So we talked to the health officer the other day, and she said one of the reasons that we have the high numbers is because we're doing such a good job with testing, and yet statistically, if these numbers hold true, we're not as good as the state, we're not as good as King County in testing. So do these numbers differ from what you know?
Well, I would have to go back in and look verbatim right now, but, I would have no reason to doubt the Herald's reporting. All
right, well, hold that thought for a second, because it goes one step further. Among those tested, this is in Yakima, 19.9, call it 20%, were confirmed positive for COVID-19 compared to 7% statewide. Now, that's almost 3 to 1.
Sure, but if you go look at what the actual mortality rates are, we're running at about half of what King County was running.
Understood.
Based on yesterday's number.
And ultimately, I know that's the driver. We don't want people to die from this. So I guess you'd have to say that a lot of folks in Yakima County testing positive don't really have the worst case of it, except that most of the cases tested in Yakima County were allegedly people showing symptoms. So that's kind of, I mean, there's just some statistical things that aren't clear to me at this point. We can get bogged down on that, and I don't want you to. That's not the point. The point is, it's a serious enough concern for you folks that real money is necessary to make a real challenge, not just some sort of token demonstration to the governor. This really represents overreach and constitutional issues for you folks. Is that fair?
Yeah, so that's, I mean, what we're challenging is that he is violating a variety of our constitutional rights through this continued order. And, one of the challenges we have is when we write these laws, when you write these emergency power laws, and there was an amendment approved last year by the voters. I voted against it to extending more emergency powers. But when you write these, they're not immediately challenged, right? It's not like the court comes in and says, no, we don't think this is right. What really happens is this becomes law, and then if, the law, somebody has to challenge it in court. And so this is kind of where we're at. We're saying, no, we think he has, overextended his powers, and so that's where we're hoping to find out. So
yeah,
that's
it's
part of the challenge is understanding what the law, what the law says we can and can't do, and how our rights can be temporarily suspended in times of emergency.
Right. You're making a very good point too, Chris, and that is that the Supreme Court's position is not to get in the way. They could see you write a dumb law or a dumb initiative. They're not going to head it off at the pass. They're going to let it go all the way through. That's the system. They're going to let it be challenged, and then they'll pick it up. So you could make a stink bomb and have it sitting there with the fuse lit before the Supreme Court ever or whatever level of court decides to get involved. So this is a federal lawsuit?
Yes. Yeah. So we went to a federal lawsuit. We think that the violations are, large enough in scope that that's where the appropriate adjudication of this matter would be. And, again, this is not where we want it to be. I mean, I've been on your radio show multiple times. Talking about this stuff. We've been trying to work with the governor, but, he is not listening, and he's doubling down. And, he claims he's focused on the science and the data, but, he's doing the exact opposite of what his colleagues in this Western Compact states are doing with the exact same science and data.
Yep. I think that's an excellent point.
Yeah, that's right.
An excellent point. If we are going to be the three amigos, why are we the odd duck out? So
yeah. If you want to help out, go to openupwashington.org. Openupwashington.org. That's the Citizen Action Defense Fund, and right as soon as you open it, you'll see the button that says Help Now. There you go.
Let's ask you something of a personal nature, Chris Corry.
Oh, boy.
No, we got 1 minute, so you can always bail on time. And that is just what new, different, unusual thing have you did with some of your time now during the lockdown time? Is there anything that you're studying or practicing or learning about, anything that you're doing differently during the quarantine?
So I've been reading more. I try to make it a point to read, but it sometimes escapes you. So that's been kind of new and different. I've learned. My son and I have become quite proficient at Minecraft.
Very nice. Well played, Dad.
I might have that as one of my campaign platforms.
I think so. Hey, not only can I help rebuild Washington, I've built many worlds, right?
That's right.
All right, buddy. Thank you, sir. We appreciate your time, Chris. Good luck with the lawsuit. We're with you, man. Take care.